exhausted civilians are fleeing the siege of Gaza's far north. Along the way, they don't hide their emotions. Every face is drawn with despair. The Israeli army continues to deny journalists access to the Gaza Strip. Our Palestinian colleagues filmed these images.
They bombed us with drones. They threw us out of our homes in the camp. May God sustain us and give us vengeance.
Israel launched a new ground offensive against the north of Gaza on October 6, 2024. Israeli infantry soldiers have completely surrounded the Jabalya refugee camp and the town of Beit Lahya. Civilians have been ordered to flee the Humanitarian zone, but are refusing to go any further south than Gaza City. The Yarmouk Stadium has been converted into a displaced persons camp. Its stands are still pockmarked from the Israeli bombings, and displaced civilians remain in the very center of a zone of combat. This mother's eyes turn to the sky for fear of bombings.
May the merciful God protect us. We were in schools that had been turned into shelters. We were all displaced. And we did everything to stay in the school till the end, when the tanks came and forced us away.
These white tents are funded by one of the rare humanitarian organizations that still operate in the north. It's here that Abir tries to rebuild a daily routine for the special needs children under her care.
Look at the lives we're leading. This tent is a tragedy. How could it possibly hold all of us? These girls are in wheelchairs. They need toilets. They need special care. But we don't even have light here.
Will these Palestinians ever be able to return home? What is Israel's military strategy for the north of Gaza? Is Israel seeking a long-lasting buffer zone here? Back in Israel, we meet retired General Giora Eiland, who has a long track record as an influential strategist. Here, he's shaking hands with American President George Bush. Several months ago, General Eiland announced a new plan for the north of Gaza, which can be summed up in 3 words: evacuate, besiege, and starve. The general's plan was co-signed by about 10 other retired senior Israeli officers. But Eiland now denies any connection between his plan and the official military strategy.
No, there is no real similarity between my plan and what is probably happening today in this area. My plan, the goal is to create a real effective pressure against Hamas. We should take a land from Hamas. Or in more specific terms, we have to conquer the northern part of Gaza. And then the combatants will have only 2 choices, either to surrender or to die in starvation. This is the whole simple plan, which is fully consistent with all the international demands and fully consistent with the law of the armed conflict.
The same applies to the civilians. Like, it's basically evacuate or starve. And some would say this is against international law.
What is better? The better is to be killed by bombs.
Israeli public opinion seems more fractured than ever regarding the manner in which the Gaza war should be conducted. Eran Etzion was deputy head of Israel's National Security Council until 2008. Today, he's warning against the general's plan and is raising the alarm about possible war crimes in the north of Gaza.
The government is executing a plan which is not transparent to the public, which might be heavily influenced by the settler movement and by far-rightist elements within the government. The ousted Defense Minister Gallant denied on camera that the government is actually implementing this plan. Netanyahu denied it also in a closed session with Secretary of State Blinken. And then when asked by Blinken to say it publicly, Netanyahu refused. What matters is what's going on the ground, not what this or that general, with all due respect, wrote in his original plan months ago.
Israeli airstrikes continue unabated over northern Gaza. And no more than a few hundred meters away, the most extremist Israeli settlers are preparing.
Amos, can you please give me a hand? We can get this up and running in Gaza in under 12 hours.
Yosef and Amos are pioneers in the movement to recolonize Gaza. They've set up an outpost on the Israeli side of the border.
To Gaza. For now, we're living on the border, but we're on our way to Gaza. And if Gaza's in our hands, we'll have no need for a border.
But they aren't leaving.
Yes, they're evacuating.
They're only going as far as Gaza City because they're afraid they can't come back.
Let them not come back. They're right. They're right to be afraid.
To tell you the truth, what the army's doing is cleaning out all of the northern Gaza Strip of Arabs. Ultimately, the general's plan is a positive thing as it brings us closer and closer to settling in Gaza.
These extremist views are far from unanimous in Israel, but their most powerful champions are nestled in the very heart of government. Ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich, and even members of the Prime Minister's own party, openly support the idea of recolonizing Gaza.